the interest rates will come down.
You said that you would demand that the interest rates come down.
Well, I would put in a strong statement.
Do you expect the Fed to listen to you?
Yeah.
So Donald Trump, in his run for the presidency, campaigned in a major way on the subject of dropping interest rates, in his opinion. And for a lot of different reasons, he said that was better for the economy. He wanted them to come down. He wanted that change to come into effect immediately. And really today was the first chance that that could have happened. But we saw the FOMC, that's the Federal Open Market Committee, and their decision basically not to change rates at all. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie, and this is Altcoin Buzz. All the best of luck if you choose to invest. I wish you very, very well, of course. But I'm not a financial or investment advisor, so just keep that in mind. And remember also that this video is not official financial or investment advice. So leading up to these meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday, most actually see the Federal Reserve keeping interests where they are, with the prime lending rate being 7.5% and the Fed funds rate at 4.5%. We even had Polymarket that locked in the no rate change as the most popular outcome. And so very much here we have a situation where once again the wisdom of the crowd prevailed. And just so that we're all on the same page here, we have the prime rate, which is the rate that banks specifically charge their best business customers. And then the Fed funds rate, arguably more important, but it depends on who you ask. That's the overnight lending rate that banks charge to other banks for providing temporary liquidity. So for example, meeting required reserves for things like upcoming withdrawals. And then the Fed funds rate also affects yields on things like banking deposits and other things that tend to center around bank liquidity. Now, the US government added 256,000 jobs in December, but sadly, one of the top three categories for adding jobs is government. And I mentioned jobs here because the Federal Open Market Committee, or again FOMC, tries to set interest rates and monetary policy by balancing the economy and jobs with also trying to keep inflation down. And you can always affect one, but at the expense of the other, typically, just to really simplify it. And right now we have the job growth metrics, which are sitting at more or less where people would have expected when adjusted seasonally for things like part-time jobs during the holiday season. And then also inflation is coming down from where it was earlier last year in 2024. And so taken all together, this does set the table for what most people think is going to be a decision to keep rates where they are. And that's pretty much what happened. The decision came down officially earlier this afternoon, and the FOMC decided to hold the Fed funds rate the same. And this is what we were, again, expecting from the FOMC. So it shouldn't have really any huge surprise impacts on the markets because it was largely anticipated. And so a lot of the macro indicators are still looking pretty good for Bitcoin and crypto. M2 money supply is growing, and you can see the relationship here between M2 and Bitcoin. Stablecoin growth. This is another important area because it pretty much corresponds one-to-one with crypto growth. If you're witnessing and experiencing growth in the stablecoin sector, that also equates directly to growth in crypto. Money only converts from dollars or euros to stablecoins when people are ready to buy, and they're going to buy. And the impact may not be as big as when interest rates are lower, granted, but things are still looking pretty good across crypto. I mentioned the M2 money supply a moment ago. As you can see here, when the global M2 figure increases, the price of Bitcoin does as well. There's a major correlation here. And then, as you know, after Bitcoin rises, so too do the altcoins. And here with US money supply, it's actually even more obvious. In late 2022, when the money supply was declining, we experienced a bear market in crypto that also happened to line up with the 4-year cycles of Bitcoin. But there's a major overlap here. And then since April 2023, the money supply has been expanding and increasing. And not all that coincidentally, the price of Bitcoin has increased as well. It lines up pretty neatly and accurately, actually. This is one of the best macro indicators that we have in the space. If more money is floating around, then of course it has to go into assets that multiply that money, that make more money for the investors. Otherwise, that new money in the system really only has the option to lose purchasing power due to inflation. So an increasing money supply, as we're seeing now, is good for Bitcoin and by extension is good for crypto. Another evergreen variable as far as its impact on crypto, one that happens every year and one that we should also note here is Chinese New Year, which is today. Happy Chinese New Year. If you celebrate, we are entering the year of the snake, which is actually usually a good time to buy Bitcoin. It's generally bullish for crypto more broadly as well. And as Chinese go back to their families, smaller towns, villages in China, they share with those close to them what Bitcoin is about, and more people tend to buy. That's a gross oversimplification, but that is kind of in broad strokes what happens as a trend. It also helps explain why prices have been kind of sideways for BTC and down for the rest of the market recently. And this largest human migration on Earth of more than 2 billion people traveling happens as a result of Chinese New Year. And that means that people aren't trading as much, which also, at least somewhat, could help to explain that recent sideways performance. And typically after the new year, a lot of coins connected to or originating from Chinese group projects in some way, these are the ones that tend to pump. Some pump big, like CoinFlux did in 2023. Some of these coins could include Tron, Neo, which has been sold to us as the Chinese Ethereum for years, but then also VeChain, which we're big fans of, myself in particular, Zilliqa, Filecoin, there are others, of course. And in exactly the same way as CoinGecko has made in the USA altcoins list, so too do they have the equivalent for Chinese coins. These are coins that, no promises, but they could see abnormally high volumes over the course of the next 2 weeks as a result of these variables that I've outlined.